All right, cowboy, you did good. And nice timing, the governor was about to have my ass. I'll put a stop to the cash handover.
Wait, Al, don't hang up.
Foreign thieves, a cop trying to save his family, an explosive finish in the Nakatomi Plaza. No, this is not the 1988 original Die Hard movie, which is a Christmas movie and that's a hill I will die on, but it's the 2002 Die Hard Vendetta, a first-person shooter developed by the now defunct British developer Bits Studio. And no, this wasn't the game that killed the studio. Bits closed its doors in 2008, 6 years after the release of Die Hard Vendetta, so it's not that bad. But yeah, it's not that great either. Turning popular movie franchises into video games is not an easy business. That's why sometime around the late 2000s, the industry just gave up on the idea. Well, not exactly. They moved the games to mobile, made them free, then bombarded our eyes with adverts at every opportunity. Yay. But there was a time when movies could be turned into video games, or even continue the big screen stories in our fine medium. That's exactly what happened with Die Hard Vendetta. Rather than try to adapt any of the 3 original movies, they had already been gamified in the Die Hard trilogy anyway, Bit Studio set its shooter some years after the events of Die Hard with a Vengeance. McClane is now a cop at the LAPD, and while he's chilling at home watching TV, minus Miss Gennaro of course, his latest gun-toting adventure presents itself as the televised unveiling of a famous art piece turns into terror TV. Gunshots ring loud, and McClane, knowing his daughter is working the event, she's a cop. No, this is not canon with the movies. He springs into action as fast as a pack-a-day smoker can. What follows is... well, it's not great, though to be fair, the story is better than the tripe that was Die Hard 5, but I would also argue that sugared-up toddlers could come up with a better movie than that abomination. The story is a bit of a letdown as we see yet another Gruber prove that being a thieving dick is a genetic trait. But what about the actual gameplay? I've played many games where the story fell flat, but the gameplay was so good it didn't really matter. Sadly, Die Hard Vendetta is not one of those games, but I've got to give it credit for trying to stand out, especially at a time when the first-person shooter genre was just taking off and hadn't really found its best standards just yet, at least not on console. Vendetta tried to rein in the mindless killing by only having you perform mindless killing 90% of the time. Occasionally, the game presented opportunities to do some actual cop work and arrest the baddies instead of giving them a third eye socket. These moments were few and far between, mind you, but when they presented themselves, it usually meant that you'd be rewarded for taking the reserved approach. Sneak up behind a bad guy, stick a gun to his head, okay, McClane doesn't follow the handbook to the letter, and watch the bad guy's mates slowly drop their guns and surrender. It's a novel idea and it's not out of place, nor is it completely useless. You can usually get a bit of information out of these hapless heathens, and at least you save a bit of ammo for the next encounter. Not that you really need it. Die Hard Vendetta's biggest crime, at least in my opinion, is its over-reliance on auto-aim. Most first-person shooters on console have some form of aim assist, though it tends to be subtle so as not to take away from the player's feeling of awesomeness. Vendetta goes the other way and basically drags the reticule across the screen to the nearest bad guy. All you need to do is walk into an area, nudge the stick in the general direction of a bad guy, and then pull the trigger. It's far too easy. You can disable this in the game settings, but then you're left to contend with the unwieldy aiming controls that make you feel more like Chief Wiggum than a Roy Rogers wannabe. It's a bit of a mess, to be frank, and going back to this game after all these years was very difficult because of it. It doesn't help that the game forces some poor puzzles and even poorer platforming on you from time to time. But again, it was a fair attempt to break up the gameplay and give McClane something to do other than shoot holes into bad guys and curse profusely. Despite the predictable story and the iffy controls, there is still something about Die Hard Vendetta that makes it worth a playthrough at least once for fans of the movies. It's not on the same level as the movies, sadly, but the writing is actually not half bad, and the sounder-like voice actor embodies McClane's serious and comedic sensibilities, and his delivery of the excessive amount of naughty words is spot on. He even throws in the Flatfoot's favourite catchphrase from time to time. But all said and done, Vendetta is not a great game, and you won't miss much if you just binge a YouTube walkthrough. And that is the end of this little retro review. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it useful. If you did, go on down below, hit the like and subscribe buttons, and don't forget to give the bell icon a nudge so that you get notified whenever we've got new stuff. I've been Chris, you've been gorgeous, and I'll see you on the next one. Until then, Yippee-Kay, my dears.